I made $5,100 a year.
What is your most frustrating part about being an executive?
One of the things that I've learned in a career is you don't burn any bridges.
150 million on the fast track, right in the paper. Now you jump ship because it's now going to be...
And then we hear gunshots outside. No, you're not leaving this hotel for 3 days. The competition from American companies in China
is unbelievable.
Being, I don't want to say with God, but yes, I could say that. It was sort of like, okay, you just ruined your reputation. I've had a good career. I've been healthy. Time to sort of give back.
Each financial decision is not in a silo by itself. It has to be looked at and how it relates to something else in your plan. And most people are not looking at the big picture.
I have a guest today. His name is Salvatore DiBianca. We were just talking before we got started. He has been a client of mine since 1990. And we were just joking about how old was I in 1990? And it was 22 years old.
And I was 50.
You were 50.
Right.
And I'm now 56, and you're now soon to be 84.
84.
84. Not quite.
This July.
This July. And Sal, high-level Bristol Myers executive, we'll talk about that because I want to get your backstory and how you got there and your journey and the travel. But what I remember is we're sitting on your front deck. I was referred in by a mortgage guy.
There were three of you, yes.
There were three of us. And you're like, get rid of those guys. You just come here. But that was like 2-3 meetings in. And you had a complex situation with a family member of this really awesome trust that nobody knew anything about, a Medicare trust that your family had. And that was what was bothering you. That was like, this was like, you're getting ready to retire. You're 10 years out, you're 12 years out, but your problem at the time was this complex trust that you kept going to people and nobody knew anything about it. And what I realized is, I don't know anything about this thing. And
Yes.
and nobody that I was talking to some of the greatest attorneys, nobody knew anything about it. And then I found this guy, Joe, who was a really crazy attorney.
Right. Mm-hmm.
He dove in so deep. And we began to understand that this was this loophole that was there for 2 or 3 years. And your parents had the foresight to actually do it.
Yes, that was an irreversible trust, which was kind of unique in those days and still unique. I don't even think you can do it anymore.
You can't. Like literally right after they did it, you couldn't do it.
But I have to say that you were very instrumental in getting a team together. And again, none of us knew anything about this, including you.
No, I knew nothing about it.
And you were able to get the team together, and by the end of the whole situation, you've become an experienced expert on it. And if it wasn't for you, that whole thing would not have
done what it did. It was truly
fruition.
an amazing thing. And I look at that. My dad used to say to me, I can't teach you in a classroom about a complex trust because it means nothing. It means shit to you. Go find something like it, and you're going to become expert in it.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh my God, like that was the greatest advice that he had ever provided to me. I didn't realize that I was getting that lesson when you were doing this, finding and having the wherewithal to actually dig in. And as we dug in, I became expert at it. I've never found another one. But by the way, nobody I've met in my 34 years in the 80s made a Medicare trust.
Yeah.
Right? Nobody had that.
Yeah. I mean, I can remember you actually reading a research article, and coming up with this name, Mary Wanda Polo.
Yeah. She was great.
All right. And you said, let's call her. She's writing all these articles and stuff. So as you know, we worked with her for many years.
Yeah, she was amazing.
She was a great asset.
She knew more than actually Joe did. And it was really interesting. But you did something for me in my career that I can't thank you enough for, right? I was doing this to learn. And when we were probably a year and a half into understanding what this thing was, you said, I'm going to write you a check because I'm so grateful. And that was the first financial planning fee that I ever received.
Right. You didn't ask for it.
I didn't ask for it.
Yeah.
I was like, matter of fact, I fought you to actually accept it. And what I realized, the value that we were exchanging. Smallwood Wealth Management is the lead sponsor of this podcast. You have an opportunity to have a free, no obligation conversation with one of our qualified advisors. Go to smallwoodwealth.com, schedule a call, or call us at 800-797-1000 and get on our calendars. It was far greater than a monetary thing, but your belief in me was like an amazing ripple effect, like literally, seriously.
Yeah. Well, if I could just jump back to our first meeting at the porch.
Yeah.
Okay, there were three of you. I don't know exactly how you were in the business together, but two of them I knew.
Correct.
And one was from my town, and I knew him and his wife, and but we're sitting there doing this, and I look around and I say, well, he's older than I am. He's older than I am. This kid's going to be around for a long time. All right. I'm looking for something for long term. All right. So I told the other two, I'm sorry, guys, but I want to deal with John Smallwood. And at that time, well, I have to admit to you that your presentation and your whole way of doing things was not developed yet. Let's put it that way.
22 years old, my God. Far from being developed.
All right.
Figuring crap out at that moment.
At that time, I took a chance. All right. But at our first meeting, when you started asking me questions, and talking about things, for example, I tell other people, because I have recommended you to many people. Over the years. John comes in and asks me about, we're sitting on the porch, and he says, if someone falls on your porch, do you have an umbrella policy to cover it? I said, no.
What the hell is that?
Right. Yeah, but in my mind, I said, oh, here he goes. He wants to sell me insurance. All right. And like, he's just like all the other guys. So then John says, no, I don't sell insurance. That time you didn't.
Property
right?
casualty, no.
Right?
I still don't.
Yeah. So you asked me about my car insurance. Well, what are my options? The 500 or the 1,000? So, I said I had 500. So he said, well,
that's a deductible.
Deductible, yes. He says, well, talk to your insurance agency, change it to 1,000 deductible, take that extra money and buy your umbrella policy.
No money out of pocket.
Right. So those were the common sense things that you start to talk about. All right. And that's why our situation has lasted all these years.
34 years so far.
Time flies when you're having fun.
Time flies when you're having fun. Now, I want to go back to the Medicare thing.
Okay.
And I want to talk about something. We get your dad and your mom down. We come down. We're doing some trust documents with an attorney down here.
Yeah, with my brother too. Yeah.
With your brother. And then we all go to Basil Teas for lunch afterwards. And your dad gets out of the car and we're walking into the restaurant. And he says, so, John, you tell me that I'm wealthy. I'm like, yeah, you are. I'm 22 years old. Like,
right.
I'm like, yeah, I mean, maybe 23 at that point.
Yeah.
And he goes, so why am I wearing a 30-year-old scarf and a 20-year-old jacket? And I go, that's why you have money.
Right.
Because you didn't spend it. Right. And he's like, good point.
Right.
I go,
right.
I think you need to spend a little money now. I think you need to have some enjoyment.
Yeah.
And he's like, yeah, I think we should. So I think it was really interesting. Like, I want you to go back now and, you grew up in Staten Island.
Correct.
You go to college. Well, where'd you go to college?
Small college at that time, St. Francis College in Brooklyn, 500 boys. in the
500
college,
boys.
Total enrollment. When I graduated, there were 12 chemistry majors.
And you were a chemistry major.
Yes, yeah.
And what did you want to be when you were in that chemistry major? Like, what was your career plan?
I hate to tell you, but I had none.
So many other people right now.
No, my plan was basically to get a job, get married, have a family, and just hopefully enjoy a good life. And although this was a very small school, the Professor Burke, who was the head of the chemistry department, sat down with us many times and said, because the school had some drawbacks as far as size and equipment and everything else, right? And he would get us together and say, gentlemen, I don't think anybody here is going to find the cure for cancer. I don't think anybody here is going to go to the moon. But you're getting a good basic education to get a job, raise a family, and enjoy life.
Pretty cool.
And I remember sitting down talking to him about that. Yeah.
It's really interesting.
And that's basically, hopefully, what has happened.
So far, that has happened.
So far. Yeah.
Now, what was the first job when you graduated, what was your first job?
Well, again, it gets complicated, but I was all set. I was in graduate school.
Where'd you go to graduate school?
At that time, Seton Hall.
Okay, cool.
All right. And I'm set to get married. All right.
All right.
And they get this notice from the government. Okay, Uncle Sam wants you.
Want you, that picture. I want you.
Yeah. So I said, well, this is like in April, May. I said, in August, I'm getting married. Right. So I don't know if I did the right thing or not, but I found a job teaching chemistry in a Catholic school.
Interesting.
And so I did not go into the service.
Got married.
I got married and still did not have my first child and still didn't. So I did that for a year. All right.
I didn't know that.
After a year, my first job was with Bristol Myers.
Interesting.
I made $5,100 a year.
What year is this?
63.
Yeah.
1963.
Which was not bad, but not.
Well, no, a junior chemist going in. Right?
Yeah, it was actually the high end of what people were making.
Oh, yeah. No, I was fantastic with it. It was good. And it was one of the best companies to work for.
What was your starting role? Like, what did you come in as?
I was a bench chemist in quality control.
Bench chemist in quality control.
Right. And that time they made Bufferin, Excedrin, shampoo, Ipana toothpaste in those days.
Ipana?
Yeah.
I never heard of that.
And Bristol Myers was one of the best companies to work for.
And you stayed there for?
I stayed there for about 4 years.
Okay.
And I was doing okay and doing well, as a matter of fact. But I don't know if that still continues today, but, headhunters were always looking for people.
Oh, always.
So I got a call about the Menon Company in Morristown. And they offered me a analytical supervisor position there.
Big step up.
Yeah, it was a good step up. And although I made sure when I left Bristol Myers that I left no bridges burning, I wrote a long letter to HR and to the vice president saying that I was leaving because I didn't see any, for me at the time, no opportunities
to advance,
to move ahead. But again, I enjoyed my work there, and that kind of thing.
Smart.
So I was one of 6 or 7 people that were hired by the Menon Company to increase the company's profit and sales. When I got there, the Menon Company was a $55 million sales operation.
And their main product back then was?
Made for baby products.
Baby products, right.
All these baby products. And they wanted to get into cosmetics, shampoos, and things like that.
Okay.
So 5 of us were hired in different positions to do that. And in 3 years, the company went from 55 million in sales to 155 million in sales.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
In like, that's like 72, 73 range, right?
Yeah. As a matter of fact, in 1973, I don't want to say became renowned, but I wrote a research paper. And by the way, that's the first and only research paper I ever wrote.
Do you still have it?
Oh yeah, I still have the paper. In fact, it's you go to the internet, it's still there.
Oh, good.
And it became the best paper of the year in the Society of Cosmetic Chemistry Journal.
Oh, wow.
So people all over the United States got my name. All right. So, I went to Chicago, get the award, all that kind of stuff. So from there, I get this call from American Can Company. American Can Company at that time was searching for its identity. It was into cans.
Was it a manufacturer of cans to give to like soup companies and stuff like that? Okay.
Yeah. And it was into paper products, which it still is. But, at that time, companies like American Can would set up these little satellite divisions.
Yep.
And say, okay, I'll hire, a bunch of eggheads. You go there and see what you come up with.
Yeah.
And
figure it out. Make it grow.
Yeah.
Make a product, make something.
Yeah. So we started with nothing. I had a 3-year contract to come up with products. Right. And we did. And unfortunately, at the end of the 3 years, the American Can Company decided they didn't want to go in that direction.
Interesting. So here you are, you're coming out of this awesome thing that you've taken to 150 million on the fast track, right in the paper.
Right.
Now you jump ship because it's now going to be a
level up. It was a bottom line. I mean,
and now it's not. Now you're like, oh shit, I'm going to be out of a job.
Well, yes and no. They offered me jobs.
Inside of the company.
Yeah, out in Wisconsin, Chicago, places.
Move your family to Wisconsin.
Yes.
No.
Well, it was very interesting because it was a really good position out there. But I could not get used to the environment. My wife and I, Terry and I, went out there for a week. And I said, look at houses, do this, do that. And it came back and talked to my boss. He said, well, what do you think? I said, well, I like the new title. I like the new increase in money. I said, but I just can't go out and socialize in that environment.
Yeah.
So I left the company.
Where'd you go?
Well, I started looking for a job and Bristol Myers came back. All right. There was an opening in Bristol Myers.
Any of the same contacts that you had known when you left?
Well, it was very interesting because I was gone from Bristol Myers, 8 years or so?
Yeah, I was going to say, about 8 to 10 years, somewhere in that ballpark.
Yeah. And so it was interesting to me even to go back to the interviews and see who climbed the ladder, who didn't, who was still there, But this was a kind of a unique position in international.
Yeah.
Was assistant director, but it was mostly paperwork with some traveling. In other words, I would communicate with people overseas when they needed something, go back and forth,
Go back and forth.
But traveling was at a minimum at that time.
And up until this point, you hadn't traveled internationally at all in your life.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, on pleasure, I might have been to Italy once or something like that.
But that like...
Oh, yeah. But in looking back, I learned so much in those 3 years with American Can because we were trying to grow an organization, grow a business. And I got involved with almost every asset of the business, from marketing to manufacturing.
So those skills that you were learning, and it necessarily wasn't working out the way you guys wanted to because American Can said,
right.
Oh, we're not going to go in that direction. So things like weren't working, but what you were learning was absolutely incredible.
I didn't realize at the time.
Right. Because you're like, oh my God, I'm going in the wrong direction.
Right.
But the skills were.
Yeah. As a matter of fact, I often think about at the same time that I had the offer from Bristol Myers to go back, Best Foods made me an offer.
Mm.
I never forget this guy. His name was Fred Bracuzzi, and he interviewed me, and somehow we hit it off, and he was just amazed at the length of my knowledge throughout the
depth of what you had in your career, from that paper all the way forward.
Yeah, especially the last 3 years working in all these different areas.
Yeah.
And I almost took that job. One of the reasons I took the job at Bristol Myers is because they bridged me for the years that I had before.
Oh, so they're connecting your pension credits, 4 or 5 years of pension credits now to this new thing, which is
so
massive.
basically I can retire 4 years earlier.
Right.
In a way, But to this day, I sort of regret maybe not taking the job with Fred Bracuzzi.
How come?
It would have taken me in a different direction.
Yeah. Where was that?
More scientific.
Where was their offices?
In Union.
Okay, so similar.
Yeah, same in Union, New Jersey. But Fred would call me up like 1 month into the job and say, Sal, we still have this opening.
Are you happy?
Yeah. Is it working out for you there? If not, give me a call. And then, of course, over the years, I lost touch with him. But one of the things that I've learned in a career is, you don't burn any bridges.
Yeah.
Wherever you leave,
leave on good terms.
You got to leave on good terms and stay on good terms within the whole community. But from assistant director in Bristol Myers, then that started to expand. All right.
Yeah.
International was, even in the 70s, not very
sexy,
not very big with Bristol Myers, all right? But it really started to expand, and I got a crew together, and then I started, as time went on, then I became director and started traveling.
You're on the road a lot.
Yeah, in the 90s, I was on the road maybe 80% of the time.
And it was Europe, in a plane.
It was all over.
You weren't going to Wisconsin. You weren't going.
Oh no, no.
Those places. You were literally.
When I first started, it was South America. I had some things going on there. Excuse me. But then it was almost all over. And the unique and nice part about it is at that time the company not only allowed wives, but sometimes encouraged you to take your wife.
Right.
So we had seminars all over the world, and Terry would, and she was happy shopping in Bangkok as opposed to New York City.
Yeah.
All right. She knew her way around Bangkok.
Which is it because she had been there so many times?
Yeah. Same thing with Italy and France and things like that.
And having that support structure of your family to watch the kids and to do things was really wonderful. Fortunately,
at that time, the kids were either in college,
right,
or married by that time too.
Yeah.
So the travel worked out. But it has its great parts, and of course, travel has its nasty times too, as far as being caught at an airport for 3 days or something like that, or being in Egypt, for example, and someone comes up, the guy comes up and says, "Okay, let's go to the factory," and then we hear gunshots outside, and I say, "No, you're not leaving this hotel for 3 days."
Yeah, very different environment.
Those kind of things.
Yeah.
So,
what did you find, like, when you would go to the facility that you were going to visit, whatever, or to the factory? Were they run by local people, or were they U.S. expatriates living in that area and running that division?
Well, it's a combination. There would always be an expatriate from Bristol Myers, the head of the operation.
Head of the operation.
Yeah.
So somebody U.S. based there.
And then all local people, mostly local people, working for the.
Interesting.
I did a lot of work in England, for example, but towards the end of my career, it was China.
You were there a lot.
Yeah, I'd go to China maybe 5-6 times a year.
What part? What region?
Mostly out of Shanghai, Bristol Myers. I can't say bought a factory there because in China you're not allowed to own
Correct.
the factory. So we had like 49% or whatever.
Right.
But Bristol Myers had to upgrade the factory and do everything. And so we were a group of like 5 people who got our products in China. I would deal with the Ministry for Product Registration, show everybody how to manufacture the product, all the quality control aspects.
The standards
of it.
that you guys were trying to uphold. That because that was a big problem always is the factory actually putting the right ingredients in the right.
Yeah. As a matter of fact, the first time we did, we were so anxious to get product on the market that we shipped everything from the U.S. into China.
Into China.
All right. I mean, we knew we weren't going to make any money.
Right.
All right.
It was just getting it there and getting a
it
volume.
out. And so that was our first task. And then my second task was to find local factories to purchase the local ingredients.
Interesting.
Instead of shipping it from the States.
Source the ingredients, quality control of those ingredients.
And they're to have to go into these factories and talk about the GMPs, what they needed to.
What's a GMP?
Good manufacturing process. All right. Not the A&P.
Okay. Yeah.
GMP.
Yeah.
And I'd work with them to upgrade it. And then we were able to buy everything locally.
Interesting.
But again, that was to make products in China for China.
To be sold in China under and I would believe that the Chinese standards were different than the U.S. standards, but you were bringing U.S. standards into the Chinese market.
Yes.
And that was really interesting. Like you had a lot of interaction with the government, with officials, with people there. Like, what's your takeaway? I mean, that was in the early 90s that you were there.
Oh, yes. I mean, for example, first time you come to the factory and you see all these people are here early.
Like really early.
Yeah. Where do they?
Like how early?
I don't know, an hour before they
start, work.
Whatever. I said, why are they here? Well, they take a shower here because they don't have running water at home.
Oh my God.
All right. And they have breakfast here.
Because they don't have food.
Right. And that's how it started. And I mean, for example, I would say the Westin Tipenying Hotel, and most of the time, Madam Yang would pick me up. She was a car driver.
Okay.
Right? And when she couldn't pick me up, I'd take a taxi. Very few taxis then. And take a taxi for about 45-minute ride out to the factory. He would sit there. Right? They would give him a chit for lunch so he could have lunch. He'd go back to his car. 5, 6 o'clock, I'd come out, take me back to the hotel. $5.
The whole day.
Right. Today, it would cost you $1,000 to do that.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Even in China. It would cost you that.
In China.
Yeah. Even in China. Like,
$5.
And you got lunch.
It changed so quickly. Other companies, well, we weren't the first, of course, but as more and more companies moved into China, the competition for employees.
For labor, for all those things. Executives.
So we would have somebody working for us and they quit. They go to work for J&J.
Interesting.
Or they go work for another company.
And then now they're taking our skills, our products, all the training, and they're more valuable.
Yes.
Over there.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh crap, we got to start over again.
Right.
So that happened a lot, right? Because even during that time frame, I'm sure you're being courted by other companies than Bristol Myers, because now you're running this director level. I'm sure those competitors are going, we need him on the thing.
But it's funny because we'd go to let's say a company made aspirin. All right. And so we need aspirin for our product. Right?
Yeah.
So you go to a company made it, You walk in the door, you walk in the lobby, and there's somebody from J&J sitting there too, waiting to see them.
Mm.
The competition from American companies in China.
It's unbelievable.
I mean, I would meet guys on a plane going over to China that I knew from other companies, right?
Right.
Now, where are you
going to
going?
be at blah, blah, blah?
I'm going to the same place. But,
what do you think of Madam, our driver? What do you think of this person? Like,
Yeah.
I'm sure you guys could kind of communicate about the perspective because you're dealing with different people, and now you're sharing some stories about the negotiations or the interactions.
Yeah.
Because now it becomes a game. Because now everybody realizes
Oh, yeah.
that this is now a game.
Especially guys from P&G.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
I mean, they were very active, let's put it that way.
Very, yeah.
Yeah.
And making sure that they were controlling
Yeah.
the situation.
So
Because now it's about control.
Well, yeah.
Of a
it's
factory.
It's about, like you go to a factory, let's say aspirin again. all
Yeah.
right? Now they can only make so much aspirin.
Yeah.
All right. Now who are they going to sell it to? All right. And so you got to get in there and see what.
It's either getting a Bristol Myers, a J&J, or a P&G label on
so
it.
they're all in there. And the thing
That's
about
interesting.
China is again, I haven't been there in 25 years.
Yeah.
So I'm speaking
25 years ago, but like,
Right.
how do you think it is today? You think it's any different or just a bigger game?
It's so much more modern.
So much more modern. I mean, the cities they've built.
It's unbelievable.
I mean, you were in Shanghai, which
Yes.
was like the city 25 years ago, but they
Yes,
built
but a
all
lot-
these other places
But
now.
a lot of the factories
were
were in the countryside.
And now there's cities built near the factories.
Yeah. And so, I mean, we would go to a factory, in a town, and I'd walk along the street, and I'd take somebody with me. I'd say, "Oh, there are no birds around.
Interesting.
They eat them." I said, "There are no dogs around.
No squirrels.
Yeah. Let's go to lunch."
What are you serving? Oh, chicken. Oh, no, it's not chicken.
Everything tastes like chicken.
Oh my God.
Well, yeah, one of the first, I have sent people home sick
Oh, I'm sure.
from China.
I'm sure you must have gotten sick on your
Just once.
travels.
Just once, but I.
And you remember it well.
But you soon learn not to eat fruit, vegetables, anything like that.
Because of the pesticides or?
Well, not only pesticides, but just they're contaminated.
There's not good quality soil, just shit.
No, yeah, you get sick.
Oh my God.
I mean,
Here, it's grabbing a piece of fruit and you're like, this is healthy. And next thing you're not.
oh yeah,
That's interesting. I never really
learn
thought of that.
You learn to eat hot soups. Now I'm sure it's changed now.
Yeah.
And this was in the hotels you will find.
Yeah.
But
Like
when you go out to this,
to
the small towns,
out to the factory, out to the bodega on the
So-
corner.
so, yeah, you're in the small factory, in the small town. So they take it out for lunch, and they serve tea.
Mm.
So I always had a translator with me, and Madam Chang and whoever came, and they put the teapot there. The guy would take either his handkerchief or something from his, and he'd wipe out the glass, the cup. Right? You take the tea, pour it in the cup, throw the tea out, put another cup, tea, and drink it.
That was the cleaning process.
Yeah.
Because he knew it wasn't clean.
Yeah, I mean, he's a
Can you
local
imagine
guy.
that? You imagine that?
Yeah.
I can't even imagine that.
Oh, you kidding? I'm there at the same time where dessert comes. So they serve fruit.
Okay.
So I pick up some grape, right? And the guy next to me picks up some grape, local guy. He peels the grape. All right.
It's a very hard thing to do, by the way.
Yes. I said, "What are you doing?" He says, "If you're going to have these grapes, you better peel them."
Get the shit off the skin. That's crazy.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, at that time.
So when you're traveling, you're in China, you're in Europe. Did you have like a favorite place that you like with the relationships that you would go to? Like when I got on the plane, like I'm looking forward to go here.
Yes, but for different reasons.
Yeah.
I mean, I was very, I'm going to say the word lucky, but I had the opportunity to be on my own a lot, make my own decisions. For example, up until my last 2 years working, I never had a boss in the same state that I worked.
That's incredible.
All right. I was always in New Jersey. Sometimes I had a boss in New York City, North Carolina, Stamford, Connecticut,
But never
or
in
Syracuse, New York.
never in your backyard.
Not until my last 2 years.
In your last 2 years, you were down in Princeton.
New Brunswick.
Yeah.
So I was on my own a lot, and the company I never took advantage of things, but as long as I stayed within my budget, like on a weekend, I'd rent a car, go someplace or whatever.
Explore the whatever
And
wherever
like,
you were.
So there are different things of what really attracts me. In England, for example, there were a couple of ruins that I could just go and sit all
And
by
just
myself. All right.
Experience whatever
Yeah.
that was there.
In Greece, one of the I don't know, not exciting, but one of the most memorable things is that go to the Acropolis in the wintertime,
Okay.
nobody there, and it snowed, which is rare.
Very rare.
Right.
Yeah.
So here I am sitting all by myself, looking down, all right, in Athens.
Oh wow.
Just
And with a thin blanket of snow,
yeah.
which I've never even seen a picture of that.
Yeah.
Got to go Google search that now. I
yeah.
got to see that.
Yeah. So that, I mean, things like that are just
These once in a lifetime opportunities to sit there and experience something that most people never get a chance.
yeah. I mean, other people say, oh, we had parties, we had this. Those were there, of course,
Of course.
but it's the solitude and just being, I don't want to say with God, but yes, I could say that.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. Absolutely.
And just looking at the world, how wonderful it was, and hopefully still is. So these are, periods of time. On the other hand, going to China, all right, and seeing some of the wonders in China.
Oh, it's going to be amazing.
All right.
I've never been.
Yeah. I mean, the terracotta soldiers.
Yeah, I saw them in Epcot, but not.
Terracotta soldiers. And again, in 1974, they found them.
Yeah.
All right. The guy just fell through his farmland.
And boom, there they were.
And there were
How many were there's thousands of them. There's literally a whole army.
thousands, life size.
Life size.
And it's just amazing. All right.
And they all have
Chariots.
They all have a unique face to them too, right?
Yeah, they're all different.
They're all different.
Yeah.
Which is amazing.
And they're all different poses. And so seeing something like that.
I wonder how long that took to make. Because they're each individually crafted and there's thousands.
Yeah.
Like, was there 1,000 people making 3?
Yeah.
Or was there, that's something I would like to know.
Yeah, how they did that. And of course, it's facing the burial grounds of the what's his name, Lee, I think.
Yeah.
And so those are really opportunities.
So here you are, late 70s, early 80s, going into the 90s. You're in this organization. You're moving up through the ladder. What is your most frustrating part about being an executive? And you're like, if we could just make this change, we'd get a better outcome. And you can't make that breakthrough.
Well, I have never really wanted to move up the ladder too much.
Okay.
Okay.
But even staying
maybe
in your level,
maybe I'm weird about it, but for example, I did have the opportunity to let's just go to England, and I helped build the facility there with all the documents and everything else, and I had the opportunity to run a factory of like 600 people.
which would have been a big increase, but
Yeah.
you would have been there
Yeah,
as
it would've
opposed
been
to
big
here.
promotion and everything.
Yep.
But I never went for it.
Interesting.
All right. Mainly because of family. My parents were still alive. Terry's parents were still alive.
Yeah.
My kids were still here.
In high school. And
Yeah.
in those formative years.
and
And that was so disruptive.
right. Yeah. It's a funny thing. Every so often, the president of International would have the meeting, and you go through like, where do you want to be 5 years from now?
Right. Great question. 'Cause
Right.
Everybody's always asking
Everybody,
that. Yeah.
and usually say, "Oh, I want my boss's job."
Yeah.
Right. And I forget how old I was, but anyway, we're sitting in this room with all the top executives and everything, and they said, "Where do you want to be?" I said, "No, I like the job I'm doing now. I'd like to continue the job I'm doing, all right, and maybe expand it or whatever. And when I'm 55, I'd like to be in the position to retire."
Yeah. And that's when I met you too. That's what we were talking about. I want to be able to retire at 55,
Well, you should have
56.
heard this room.
Like,
I mean, I was like a trader.
yeah, like you're running our division. Like you should want to be
Yeah,
65, 70
right.
and going. out.
You don't want to be a vice president
Yeah.
or whatever.
Because like where you were as director, what was the next level and the next level?
The next level is vice president.
And then president
Well,
of a division.
yeah, but it's a long way from that. I mean,
Yeah.
I was
That's
never.
a huge leap.
I mean, there are so many vice presidents, and there's so many. The thing is, I was always regarded as kind of middle management.
Right.
All right.
And you were great at it, but the room must have like, what were they, what were some of the comments that they said to you about this?
Well, basically, they didn't call me a traitor, but like, it was sort of like, okay, you just ruined your reputation.
We can't invest in you. We can't
Right.
take you
Okay.
to the next level.
Yeah. Yeah.
You're wasted money almost.
But then,
Interesting.
we're talking about it, and I said, if you listen to what I said, I want to be in a position to retire.
Yes.
I didn't say I want to retire.
Correct.
All right.
So people weren't listening.
Right.
They were shit going on in
They
their
were
brain
hearing
while
what
you're,
they wanted to hear.
while you're talking.
right.
Exactly.
But that still didn't go over.
So that moment kind of like kept you, and you were how old when you had this conversation? Like 50?
Probably around
Like
that time.
right when I was.
Yeah, probably around
meeting
that
you.
time. Yeah, yeah.
So now your growth kind of is now sort of like stifled in the firm. Your trajectory wasn't,
I guess you
Right?
could say that. Right.
because now it's like, we're not going to, okay, he's good,
Yeah.
but we're not going to train him. We're not going to do this because
Yeah.
he's too close to this
Yeah.
55 mark.
Yeah.
Which I'm
And
56.
see, there were so many changes in the company.
Yeah.
Uh,
New people coming in, hiring.
yeah,
new,
I mean,
new regimes.
International went through so many different names and divisions, and who took this over, who took that over, and then even later when Bristol Myers bought Squibb,
Right.
which was sort of, I don't want to say a reverse thing, because many of the Squibb people really came into power as opposed to,
The Bristol people.
yeah. But basically, I did my job. I had a lot of fun doing it, and there were many people who didn't know what I did. What I did,
In the firm.
yeah, in the firm, because again, I was stationed in New Jersey,
Yeah. Nobody directly
in
overseeing you.
buildings that I had like 5, 6, 7 people reporting to me.
Mm.
And there were 500 people in the building, all right, who had nothing to do with my group,
Yeah, like, who's that guy?
right? I mean, I was certainly interact with them and stuff like that. But not until later on when everybody started to get involved in international.
Because that's where the money was.
Everybody, yeah,
That's where the growth was.
all the domestic people wanted to get a piece of the pie.
Yeah.
But it worked out well.
Now, fast forward to 55, 56, you were in a position to retire.
Yes.
When did you actually retire? I forget the exact year or age that you were. Should have checked that before because I know it.
Well, no. To be honest with you, around 1997 or so, Bristol Myers and Squibb combined.
Yeah, I remember.
And there was a lot of changes in organizations.
Yeah. Bad changes coming.
Yeah.
As a result of that merger.
Right.
Benefits
we got two people doing one job.
Benefits being removed and
Right.
taken away.
Well, not that so much. It's just you just have too many people.
Yeah.
When you do that.
Yeah. Redundancies.
So I was asked to leave the company.
Take the package.
And they wanted me to be a consultant for a year or so with a package.
Yeah, I remember.
And
that's like 98.
Yeah, around that. Well,
Yeah.
I retired in 98.
Yeah.
So 2 years before that.
You took that sideways thing.
Yeah, 2 years before that, they wanted me to be a consultant.
So you're 57, 58 at this point.
Probably 56.
Yeah.
All right. And so the company was basically changing, and I didn't kind of like the idea of leaving the company and doing that. So my boss said, Sal, your job is being taken over by the pharmaceutical guys in New Brunswick. Go down there and tell them what you do. All right. So I prepared this dog and pony show, right? And I went down, and again, they had all the directors in the room. My boss said, make it brief, just turn it over to them. Right?
Yeah.
Anyway, I had this really complex PowerPoint presentation, and I'm going there. And everybody's, you do that. And they find out in my talk that although I was in the consumer part, I know everybody overseas because in
your
many
relationships and your
countries,
tentacles.
because in many
spilled in.
countries, the same people do the consumer and the pharmaceutical.
Yes. So they're the same.
Right.
Now in this, it's different.
So Anupai Wichikagarnako? I thought, yeah, I deal with it. Let's go back and forth. Anyway, make a long story short, the guy, let's take a break for lunch. So in the vice president and I says, come on in my office, we have lunch. So he says, why are you retiring? I said, well, I've been asked
to share my secrets with you.
Yeah.
To give away the farm.
So he says, look, come to work for me. Take your package with you. And when you want to retire, you retire. So basically, I worked 2 years
for him
in New Brunswick. Mm-hmm.
Teaching
for the
them,
pharmaceutical.
Teaching the ropes, grooming people to do what you do.
Basically, not really. Basically, closing down
what you were doing.
A lot of the consumer operations overseas, because again, the company is going strictly pharmaceutical. Yeah, and so we sold. We had Clairol.
Yeah,
we sold Clairol to P&G. All right. We used to have the Dracket company, Windex and all that.
Oh, yeah. Sold that.
All of that.
Do you think that was a good move for the company to sell all that stuff? Or in hindsight, should they have kept it?
I really don't know.
Yeah.
All I know is that first time I'm down in New Brunswick, walking through the hallways, the vice president, and we see a sign, Excedrin, sales $1 million. I said, "Oh, isn't that great?" He said, "Sal, if we put a product out that was projected for $1 million, we wouldn't put it out."
You would lose money
He says, "We have to make millions and millions of dollars on our products."
to put it out.
All right. And that's why we get getting rid of those.
Interesting.
The pharmaceutical works so much, different than the consumer operations.
So here you are, you're at the end of like a 34, 35, 37 year career,
Yeah.
all in the pharmaceutical, different area, except for the American can.
Mostly cosmetics, toiletries.
Yeah.
And only in the last
Couple of years.
a couple of years. I mean, with Bristol was OTCs there, but not strictly pharmaceuticals. Yeah.
Looking back on it, any spot in that career that you kind of like, it bothers you, like, shit, I should have done something different here.
Well,
Excuse my technical term there.
I don't know. Let me think about it. One of the things that always bothered me was in many countries, it was the standards were a lot lower, and so we had to all bring them up.
Yeah, right.
But in some countries, they were doing things better
And what we were doing.
than we were doing here in the United States. And I tried to talk about best practices.
Bringing it back to the company.
Yeah.
Interesting.
I did a lot of work in England in changing the manufacturing structures and the filling operations and stuff. And all of these ideas would have saved Bristol Myers domestic a lot of money.
A lot of money. Made a lot of
and
money.
a lot of time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Saved and made.
Yeah.
It's like
I
it was
become
falling on deaf ears. It's like the people weren't listening to you. Like it didn't meet their quarterly budget or their quarterly whatever.
I mean, for example, this goes years back. You go to Japan. They're making buffered in Japan.
Yeah.
Right. You go to production line. Every tablet is filmed. They take a picture of every tablet as it goes through the production line to make sure it's clean, doesn't have any blemishes on it.
In the 90s.
Oh, yeah. All right.
Holy crap.
All right. And
You think that would be like an AI thing.
that's right. No. I mean, this and
Somebody has to look at those pictures back then too.
oh no. It's a scanner.
Okay.
All right. And if the tablet has a blemish on it, it clicks it out.
Oh my God.
All right. Just give it a go. All right. And they had the same thing with liquids. All right. You go along the line and there's, a clear bottle.
Yeah.
All right. And the scanner would take a look at the bottle. And if there was any
Slightest
sediment,
imperfection,
in it or
anything.
the wrong color or anything like that, it clicks it out.
Interesting.
Never did anything like that, at least at that time. I don't know what they're doing today.
Right. But at that time, nobody was doing that here.
Yeah.
So the standards were so much better and your profitability because you were not returning stuff and didn't have, like you had a much better manufacturing process.
Yeah.
And the efficiency of it.
I
and
mean,
the
you're
efficacy.
always, I call them little things. But we used to make deodorants.
Correct.
Like band deodorant was a big thing at that time. And you would make pink, blue, and yellow. I don't know. All right.
Yeah.
And each one would have a different color and a different scent, different perfume. All right. So here I am in the factory and looking at this, and the guys, you make a batch of pink. All right. Then you got to wash it out with steam and water, clean it out, clean out all your lines, right? Okay. Then you got to make a batch of red or whatever.
Do the same thing.
Right. So I said, let's make one big batch of neutral, no perfume, no color. Go to the filling line, and inject the color
At that
and-
spot.
at that one spot. So now we made this huge batch, all right? And you say, okay, right at the filling line, just punch the button, and now we got red. All right. Okay, that's enough red. All right.
Now go yellow. Now go.
Punch the other button, you get red. That saves so much energy, all right, and time.
And like made a lot more money.
Bottom line,
Bottom line.
all right.
So you really knew how to make these companies more profitable in many ways.
Some of the things we did, yeah,
Interesting.
it would help. Now, again, my title was Director of Quality Assurance.
Yeah.
Now, how does
That's
that
right.
play in quality assurance? All
Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
But
So your spiderweb, your tentacles, the way your reach, are like you had multiple reach throughout the organization. Really impacting.
yes, from the
really,
the consumer.
really
point.
impacting.
Yeah. I
Interesting.
mean, for example, in my group, if someone, I was all in charge of product registration too.
yeah.
So if
In
so-
the
if so-
in the country, product registration, right?
product registration in the over in Europe or whatever.
Wherever you were, yeah.
So let's say someone wanted to make buffer,
Right.
they would need all the documents from me in order to register
In that,
that product
okay.
in that country. All right. And so I would supply them with all the manufacturing procedures, all the testing results, and everything to do that. And I would follow through
Pretty
If-
incredible.
if they didn't make it in their plant, then we'd have to go to find a third-party contractor,
To go make it.
and I would have to approve the third-party contractor.
Quality assurance.
Yeah. All right. So either myself or someone would fly over, go to the contractor, and talk to them about doing things. And it also depends on how much support staff you have in the country.
Right.
I mean, in England, we had big factory at the time. We had qualified people, and they could do a lot on their own.
Yeah.
In other countries, we well, for example, in Sweden, all right, we had one guy who kind of handled the contractors, handled everything. all right?
Okay.
I still keep in contact with him once in a while,
Cool.
but you'd have to make sure that the contractors is doing what they're supposed to do. So I would write all the procedures for that contractor.
Probably still in force today.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So what I remember, you decide to retire.
Right.
Now you've been retired for 30 years.
26, I think.
26 going on 27.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah.
Somewhere in that ballpark, right? What I remember was like, okay, now we're retired. We're 60, we're 58. Like you guys were traveling, bought the beach house, started to really, now you have time.
Yeah. Because of my job, we not only traveled on business, but we would also tie in vacation.
Yeah, you'd spend like a week afterwards.
Right. I mean, if
there.
you're in the country, you might as well take your vacation there. So yes, we did a lot of travel. So when I retired, I said, let's buy a house down the shore because we've been traveling a lot.
For the kids and the grandkids.
So some guy by the name of John Smallwood,
I don't know who that guy is.
says, Sal, you don't want to buy a house. You want to buy a boat. You remember that?
I do. I love boats. Little bad advice on that part.
Right.
Boats are depreciating. Houses are.
He said
most
you
cases,
can take your boat up to, Nantucket, or you take it anywhere. You keep it there for a couple of days. I said,
too much work.
I love boats too.
Yeah.
But No, thanks, John. So
You had a reverse. You bought the small boat and a nice house.
yeah,
That was much better. I learned a lot from that one.
so we bought the house down in Long Beach Island, had it for 18 years, 16 or 18 years, somewhere around there.
Yeah. Grandkids there,
It
kids
served
there.
its purpose. It wasn't a huge, today they're building these
Monsters.
monsters.
But it was a great location, right? It was bulkhead property, walk across the street
Yeah.
to the beach. It was
Yeah,
beautiful.
it was 8 houses from the ocean, and it was on the bay.
Yeah.
And it served our purpose all those years.
And that was like a goal. That was a big, like, we want to do some fun stuff with the kids.
Yeah, and it was, but like most things, the kids get older.
Soccer gets in the way.
Yeah. My daughter Loretta and her family moved to Rome, Italy for a while.
That's right. I forgot about that.
So they didn't use
They were
it.
there for a long time.
Yeah, 2.5 years.
Yeah.
So they didn't use the house. So it really wasn't being, after a while,
Wasn't getting the
it's-
use.
it wasn't being used that much. We went through a period where I would rent it out for a couple of weeks during the summer.
Paid for the whole
and we
thing.
use it.
Yeah.
But as you know, I didn't want to be a landlord.
Yeah.
And it came to the point where, okay, let's sell a house. And John Smallwood jumps in and we talk about, taxes.
Yeah. Capital
and
gains tax.
doing this. And I remember you had a whole bunch of scenarios. Oh, by the way, I hate that word.
Scenarios.
Scenario. Every time I worked, all these new work, paradigm shift.
Yeah.
All these consultants tell me all these.
Yeah. Scenario A
just talk English
versus
with me.
scenario B.
Right. Anyway,
By the way, that train whistle phone was perfectly timed as you said something. It
oh,
was
that's
like,
me.
yeah, it was beautiful. It was great.
should turn it off.
No. It's awesome. It was awesome. It
Right.
came right at the right time.
In any case, you were looking at my financial benefits and
The tax consequences.
and what I should do. And, you suggested either buying another house, getting a REIT, all these things. And you're looking after me from a financial point of view. But again, from a comfort point of view,
Yeah.
we agreed, let's just pay the taxes and get out of it.
Because that's the thing. Like, people get so wrapped up in like, oh, I have to defer the tax and I got to do a like kind exchange or something like that.
Yeah.
And then you end up making bad decisions. But my feeling was, I want to call it option A,
Yeah.
not scenario, right?
Right.
But I'm going to call it option A. Option B and option C is
Right.
there's a combination. But when you know the facts, now you make that decision. And now I sleep better at night. I'm free
Yeah.
of it. Reinvest the money after tax and go. And like,
Yep.
you were one of the best, thinking of my 34-year career so far. A lot of people have trouble adapting to retirement, meaning they were so wrapped up in what they did in working and like getting that paycheck. And now you're living off of Social Security and distributions from retirement plans. Like, you never had an issue with it. You just, boom, like you just went. It never, like you never expressed a concern to me.
Well, yeah, I have to tell you that Bristol Myers was extremely good in retirement seminars.
Yep.
I went to several. I don't know if they still do today. Want me to get rid of that?
No, it's fine.
I mean,
I like the realness of
for
the
example,
train coming through.
one-
There's a
once
train
in-
coming through right now. Boom, it's going to run me over.
one of them, Terry and I went to, they took New York City like for 2 days.
Oh, right.
Hotel, just listen to everything. And then we went to other seminars.
They did a lot of prep.
Yes.
And then you and I were working behind the scenes doing the same prep. You're like, okay, what about this? What about that?
Right.
It was great.
But all the things I said I was going to do.
All the trips.
That part we did. But I was going to play tennis. I was going to play golf.
Didn't play tennis, didn't play golf.
None of that.
You were going to play music. You still do that.
Oh, I still do a lot of music.
Do up, right?
Well, everything. Yeah.
Yeah. Plays the guitar pretty damn well.
Well, what I've done.
Appearing weekly at a couple of nursing homes, right?
Yeah. I mean, what I've done and what I promised to do, and I think I'm still doing it, is I've had a good career, not an exceptional career. I mean, for example, I said I retired when I was just going on 59.
Yeah.
All right. And my boss said, Sal, if you stay another couple of years,
I said that to you too.
look at your stock options.
Yeah.
Look at your 401k
Your pension.
plan.
62 is better than 59.
You'd really do great.
67 is better than
Yeah.
59.
So,
but you knew exactly what you wanted. You didn't want that. You didn't give a crap.
money was not, as long as I thought I had enough money. I mean, I am not.
You had that confidence, like I could live
be-
my lifestyle and be very happy.
Right. I mean, I don't need to go out and buy, a $1 million boat.
Right.
All right. I'm happy with the family doing things. I mean, I have no
regrets.
I mean, we take maybe 4 cruises a year or 5 cruises a year.
All over the world.
Yeah. I was just at a place called Crystal Springs up in
North
Vernon.
Yeah.
Spent a couple of days there.
Cool place.
Yeah, it really is.
I've played golf there.
They have 6 golf courses.
Yeah, it's amazing.
I don't play golf.
I don't, and they have good tennis too.
Yeah. So anyway, my whole promise to myself was I've had a good career. I've been healthy.
Very healthy.
Time to sort of give back. All right.
Yeah.
So I volunteer quite a bit.
You do.
Yeah.
As a matter of fact, I called you the other day and you're like, I'm teaching people how to use their computers.
Yeah. Now, I'm not great on computers. I mean, I know my way around.
You're better than a lot of people.
But I've been teaching every Monday, all right, all day. I do a one-on-one, 1 hour apiece, basic computers for senior citizens.
Interesting.
All right. I've been doing that for
15 years.
15 years or so. All right.
Yeah.
Then when I play music, I visiting Nurses Association. I play there once a month.
Nice.
Excuse me, and I do other places like probably don't know the names of Brightview and other assisted living places.
And how much enjoyment are you getting from doing that?
A lot.
Yeah.
A lot.
Yeah, your eyes are
There
lighting
is-
up.
You got me going now. As you know, Terry passed away.
Yep.
With
Is it 3 or 4 years now?
4 years.
It's 4 years.
She passed away from dementia.
Yeah.
And so I play in the memory care unit.
Oh, you do? Shit.
And it's difficult.
And you see these people week after week kind of deteriorating.
Yeah.
It's hard. It's hard to watch.
But it's, excuse me, something I got to do. So I do things like that.
I love that.
I also got involved a little bit in politics.
Yeah.
Yeah. In fact, we had the primary
Just recently. Yeah. Yesterday. Yeah. Did it go according to plan?
Yes. I mean, I never want to get involved in politics totally. Like, I'm pretty popular in town. Right? So people say, oh, why don't you run for this? Why don't you run for that?
Yeah.
I am on the town planning board, but I run for district committeeman, county district. So I do that. But that's kind of real
non-paid, not a lot of pressure.
Low on the
no,
there.
you're not getting phone calls all day long. Yeah.
So I do a little bit there. But between that and the family and things like that, and as you know, my wife passed away about 4 years ago, but I do move on.
Yeah.
I have this lady friend that we go on trips together,
which is wonderful because that's one of the things that, like, you love to share what you're doing with people that love to do what you're doing. That's amazing.
Yeah. So I keep busy.
Next 10 years. This is the question you don't like to answer that was earlier. What are the things you haven't done that you want to do in the next 10?
Well, the first thing I have to do is speak to John Smallwood to see if I have enough money to do what I want to do.
That's what we're doing after this.
Next 10 years, I want to continue to help my kids.
And you've done an amazing job. Like, that's one of the things that what you have done, helping yourself and helping your kids, I don't see that often.
Yeah.
It's incredible.
See, again, I guess on the page that you sort of had me look at before, you said, what do you think about money or whatever?
Yeah. Money is it? Yeah.
Money is only a means to live the life that I don't want to say need,
Enjoy.
because there's a difference between wants and needs.
Yeah. The key is to make your
a life that I'm comfortable with.
Yeah.
I don't,
living the way you want to live.
Yeah.
It's the permission. It's the energy.
I mean, I have no desire, for example, to go buy a $2 million house.
Right.
All right. Maybe other people want it.
Yeah.
But I don't need it.
Right.
All right. In fact, my house is too big for me now.
Right.
But so it's really what I want to do for the next whatever years. Stay healthy.
Stay healthy.
Right. And be able to enjoy myself.
Do more of the things that you love doing.
Yeah.
Giving back, playing music, doing those things.
Yeah. Playing music is getting a little difficult.
Dexterity or?
Yeah, both arthritis and I try and use as little equipment as possible.
Yeah.
But setting up, doing things, standing up for 2 hours,
singing for 2 hours.
Yeah, so I mean, I'm doing it, and I will be continue to do it, but I don't know for how long. The other thing that again, what I want to be able to do is, as you know, I've taken the family on cruises.
Yeah. Multiple.
Yeah. Now that the family's getting larger,
getting a little more expensive.
When people getting married, I don't know how much that's going to come.
That's one of the things that you taught me.
Yeah, feasibility
early on, and that's one of the things that I became very passionate about is that family vacation once or twice a year is a non-negotiable. You put everybody together, you go somewhere, you get out of the area, you get into an environment that you're not connected to your data and all your things.
Right.
And you enjoy each other and you live and you laugh. I mean, there's a lot of models that you provided for me. And I think one of the things that, just to jump back for a second, money isn't the money, it's what the money does, is right. what I'm actually hearing. One of my fathers, and you knew my father well, one of his famous quotes in my mind is money isn't everything, but without it, you can't get a date. Right? Yeah. So it's kind of like the money in my mind, and that's magic there again. The money in my mind is the strategies, the scenarios, the things that we played out, right? We had to go through different, shitstorm, perfect world, and in between both of those things to make sure that you could achieve what you want to achieve. And that conversation that has evolved over our 34 years of our relationship has been incredible because you had different goals along that journey.
Yes.
But they were, many were similar, but they kept expanding and becoming bigger, like helping, your son out, helping your daughter out. And it's like the enjoyment that you got from doing all those things. I'm pleased to be part of this journey. And I look at the relationship, to say it, as I said it earlier, that porch conversation. And it was like, okay, these guys are coming over. We're not going to let them in the house because I'm not sure. I'm not sure about it, right? But we sit out on the porch. It's a beautiful night.
Yeah, it was the summertime, I think. Yeah,
it was. Yeah. And it was, when I went back round 3, meeting 3, that relationship just became beautiful. And what you taught me about so many things in that relationship, I don't think I'd be the advisor that I am today. I remember a conversation we had in 98, which is right about when you're retiring, 97 maybe. There was a thing called the Asian contagion, which the market from July through July 23 or it was July 2007, the Russell 2000 was down like 27%. And I had this Russell 2000 200 stock portfolio for you. And I'm like, Sal, we're only down 23 versus 27.
Right.
And magic again. And you say to me, is that supposed to make me feel good?
Right.
And I'm like,
I remember that.
yeah, it is, but it doesn't.
But it doesn't.
It's really shitty. Right.
Yep.
And that you forced me to become a better advisor at that moment, because like relative performance is relative performance, right? Performance really means nothing. It was like not participating in those down markets was far more valuable than getting the upside.
Yeah. I mean, that's like when we first got together. All right.
I know where you're going with this one.
You, all right. Like any other guy, you put this nice booklet together, all right, and said, Sal, by the time you're 65, you're going to have $10 million. And I said, John, I'm more interested in keeping what I got, and growing it a little bit more. All right. And that's the track we've been on all these years.
So we're going to wrap this up now, but I truly appreciate the relationship. I truly appreciate the conversations, the referrals that you've provided to me. The people that you've given to me have been amazing.
Did we do a dinner?
We did a dinner when we did a retirement dinner. When you retired in New Brunswick, we got a wonderful restaurant. We went down in their basement, and I had 30 or 20 of your workers.
And they became clients.
A lot of them became clients. A lot of them, and they're still here.
That was a smart move, right?
It was a very good investment. Right. It was a very good investment, right? Like those are things that we talk about in this thing. Like a lot of people won't make that investment, and their pocket is like, oh, I'm not going to do it because it's going to cost me $1,000. It's going to cost me $2,000. I think it cost me $2,000. I don't even remember what it cost me, but that investment had no cost because one, the relationship, two, all the referrals and the repeat business. Like it's been an incredible journey. And I'm looking forward. I mean, your parents, both your mom and dad went to mid-90s.
Oh yeah.
Like 15 years from now, you're 100. We're having the same conversation between now and 100. Maybe we do it every year.
Yeah.
Depending on what our views are. I'm just kidding.
Yeah, no, it's been a really good relationship, and we've had our, I don't want to say disagreements, but
good conversations.
Yeah. Most of the time, spirited. You convinced me that to go your way. But I remember one time where I forget what fund that was.
Oh yeah.
All right, and I kept on saying, John, get out of it. Get out of it. It's going down. Yeah. And you finally did.
Yeah. But like you become connected to and that was a fabulous lesson because you come like, I made this decision, and because I made this decision to recommend X, and I got to stick with it.
Yeah.
And I was like, it's just, it was a good strategy that went awry.
Right.
Like cut bait, go to the next one.
Yeah.
And that quality assurance, the director of quality assurance applied to my financial planning practice was earth changing because we got rid of a lot of bad, like you have these great vendors and then they're mediocre and you got to keep refreshing. That's what, the journey's been making us better. So
I thank you for all your services. We've had a good road together.
Yeah.
It's been great. And I thank you and your staff.
I believe that's a wonderful thing, right? Because you and I, client, advisor, I can't do it without you, but I can't do what I do without my team because I can't do this.
Yeah.
I mean, I literally, I used to meet you at night. I'd meet you in the morning. I'd meet you whenever, I was on the road.
Yeah, come up to the house quite a bit. Yeah.
Working 10 hours a day with clients, 12 hours a day. And it'd be like, when am I going to have time to do all the back office? And I put together one of the best teams, people come, people go.
Yeah.
But it's like one of the best teams that I've ever had in my career. And that's what we're trying to do. Now I've brought all my kids in.
Yeah, I see that. Yeah.
It's 3 out of 4. And it's like 24, 26, 28, soon to be. And it's like, what's our journey now? And I'm no longer the 55-year-old guy on the porch who has nothing behind him. I actually have the younger guys.
Right.
Right. Which is
Yeah.
really, really cool.
Yeah.
So I appreciate it. This was awesome. Hopefully, if you guys love this, share this, like it, comment on it, give us feedback. We want to hear from you. This is amazing. Thank you, Sal.
Well, my pleasure. Thank you.
Thanks.
That was awesome.